reblogging pictures of teacups and rain and Belle and Sebastian songs. But if fall were about two things, the other one would be football. In 1972, Don DeLillo wrote maybe the only good novel about American football ever. It's called End Zone. It was only a second book and not one that gets much coverage when people prefer to discuss White Noise and Underworld and those other really long novels of his, and they're good. I like reading them once. Whereas End Zone I keep coming back to. It is silly, but there's a lot there. The basic premise, well, I'm a jock. The basic premise is that Gary Harkness plays running back for this tiny college in Texas, and he was a big-time recruit, played at Penn State, but he doesn't really care about football. He becomes fascinated with nuclear war. And if you were to read the blurb on the back of the book, it says, Don DeLillo explores the metaphor of football as war with rich original zeal. But it makes me think that maybe whoever wrote that didn't actually read the book. Only about halfway through, one of his characters will say, I reject the notion of football as warfare. Warfare is warfare. We don't need substitutes because we've got the real thing. So he goes on to explain perhaps why he wrote the book, that football, more than other sports, is guided by language, right? By the word signal, the snap number, the color code, the play name. And DeLillo has a lot of fun with the play names. You've got Blue Turk right, double slop, zero snag delay, quick picket left, hook right, and so forth. Monsoon sweep, string in left, ready right, cradle out, drill 9, shiver, ends chuff, broadside option, flow and go. What? But you get that with DeLillo, that he's playing with language. The game of football, it's guided by that language of war. You throw bombs against the blitz, you have field position, you're trying to break through their defensive line. I thought I would have been able to think of more than that, but you know what I'm talking about. So while he's at the school, yeah, I'm not a jock anymore, Gary starts talking to this military officer. It's about nuclear war. It has its own language, and there's no, well, rarely any direct comparison, but you see how it sounds like the play calls for football. The average lethal mutation in an autosome persists for 22 generations. The rate is 6 per 1,000 per 100 R. That's 2,400 lethal genetic events per 400,000 people exposed to 100 Roentgens. Hiroshima supports this formula. When I was young, I had an interest, if not quite a fascination, with nuclear war. I think it's one of the first things that tips you off, makes you aware of your own mortality. Somehow it's easier to accept this idea that everything can end, everything can be destroyed, than that I would ever die. Why don't they ever talk about that on SportsCenter? I highly recommend End Zone. It's a quick read. If you haven't read any DeLillo, it's a good place to start. If you read and did not like DeLillo's other books, still say try this one. So enjoy the games this Sunday, because even if your team doesn't win, it's not the end of the world. Ow!